In a striking display of self-aggrandizement, President Donald Trump recently likened himself to royalty in a post on his social media platform Truth Social. His proclamation, "Long Live the King," followed the announcement that his administration would repeal New York City's congestion pricing program, a move he deemed a triumph for the city. This declaration reflects not only Trump's penchant for grandiose imagery but also his unabashed assertion of power as he navigates the complexities of governance. The context of Trump's proclamation centers around his administration's decision to eliminate the congestion pricing initiative, which imposes a fee on most drivers entering Manhattan below 60th Street. Trump, echoing sentiments expressed during his campaign, criticized the program as destructive to New York. "If I decide to do it, I will be able to kill it off in Washington through the Department of Transportation," he stated in an interview with the New York Post earlier this month, clearly indicating his intent to leverage federal authority to dismantle local policies he opposes. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy supported Trump's stance, articulating concerns about the financial burden the program places on working-class Americans in a letter to New York Governor Kathy Hochul. "I share the president's concerns about the impacts to working-class Americans who now have an additional financial burden to account for in their daily lives," Duffy wrote, reinforcing the administration's narrative that it is acting in the interest of everyday citizens. However, the implications of Trump's rhetoric and actions extend beyond local policy. His embrace of the unitary executive theory, which posits that the president holds expansive powers within the executive branch, has sparked controversy and legal challenges. Critics argue that Trump's interpretation of this theory allows him to disregard laws and regulations that he believes conflict with his vision for the nation. Hochul pushed back against Trump's royal self-image, asserting, "We are a nation of laws, not ruled by a king," and announced that the Metropolitan Transportation Authority had begun legal proceedings to preserve the congestion pricing program. As the political landscape transforms under Trump's leadership, he continues to assert his authority in various arenas. His recent interactions with foreign leaders, particularly Russian President Vladimir Putin, illustrate a broader strategy that appears to prioritize personal diplomacy over established diplomatic norms. Following a phone call with Putin, Trump indicated that he was open to negotiating peace talks concerning the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, a move that has drawn both support and criticism. Labor Minister Bridget Phillipson praised Trump's approach, stating, "President Trump has brought the Russians to the table," while also emphasizing that any peace negotiations must include Ukrainian voices. Polls indicate that Trump's handling of key issues has received mixed reviews from the American public. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll revealed that while Trump retains a loyal base, his approval ratings on critical matters remain lukewarm. The president's approach to foreign policy, particularly regarding Ukraine, has met with skepticism from some quarters, with critics warning that his overtures to Russia could undermine support for Ukraine and embolden aggressors. As Trump continues to navigate his second term, the intersection of his self-styled monarchical ambitions and the practicalities of governance will undoubtedly shape his legacy. The future remains uncertain as legal challenges mount against his executive actions, and as international diplomacy presents both opportunities and risks. With key diplomatic meetings on the horizon, including discussions with UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, the political stakes are high and the world will be watching closely to see how Trump's ambitions unfold in the coming months. In a striking move that has left many federal employees reeling, Elon Musk has ordered hundreds of thousands of federal workers to account for their activities over the past week within a tight 48-hour deadline. The directive, which has been characterized as both unusual and chaotic, reflects Musk's ongoing mission to streamline government operations under President Donald Trump's administration. Musk, who has taken on the role of the administration's cost-cutting chief, made the announcement on his social media platform X, consistent with President Donald Trump's instructions. All federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week, Musk tweeted. He added a stark warning: failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. This ultimatum was quickly followed by a terse email sent to federal employees requesting a list of 5 accomplishments from the previous week with a deadline set for Monday at 11:59 p.m. The fallout from this directive has been immediate and widespread. Confusion reigned in various government agencies, with many officials scrambling to determine the legitimacy of Musk's email. Some departments, including the State Department, quickly informed employees that they were not obligated to comply with Musk's request. The State Department will respond on behalf of the department. No employee is obligated to report their activities outside of their department chain of command, stated Tibor Nagy, acting Under Secretary for Management. This latest directive is part of a broader trend under Trump's administration, which has already seen significant reductions in the federal workforce. In just the first month of Trump's new term, reports indicate that hundreds of thousands of federal employees have faced layoffs or buyouts. The administration has signaled its intent to continue these cuts, with senior officials instructed to plan for large-scale reductions in force and a freeze on trillions of dollars in federal grant funds. Labor unions representing federal workers have expressed outrage at Musk's ultimatum, with AFGE President Everett Kelly condemning it as an example of the administration's utter disdain for public service employees. Kelly stated, "It is cruel and disrespectful to hundreds of thousands of veterans who are wearing their second uniform in the civil service to be forced to justify their job duties to this out-of-touch, privileged, unelected billionaire." In a separate but related event, Musk appeared at the Conservative Political Action Conference back, where he was seen waving a chainsaw, which he dubbed the chainsaw for bureaucracy. His remarks during the conference reflected a belief that waste is pretty much everywhere within the federal government, further underscoring his aggressive approach to reimagining public sector efficiency. For many federal employees, the implications of Musk's directive extend beyond mere accountability. The anxiety surrounding potential job losses, compounded by a lack of clarity regarding compliance and responses, paints a picture of a workforce under siege, with thousands already displaced from their positions. Many are left to wonder about the job security of their colleagues and themselves. The National Weather Service and federal courts have already issued warnings to employees, advising against responding to Musk's email until its authenticity can be verified. This hesitance further illustrates the growing disarray within federal agencies as they navigate directives from Musk, who has positioned himself as a central figure in the administration's efficiency efforts. As this situation unfolds, it raises critical questions about the future of federal employment and the potential for significant shifts in government operations. The tension between Musk's vision of a streamlined government and the reality of public service could lead to further confrontations between the administration and federal employees. With the deadline looming, the eyes of the nation will be on how federal agencies respond and what impact this will have on the workforce moving forward. As the Trump administration continues to implement its agenda, the ramifications of these bold moves remain to be seen, suggesting that the landscape of federal employment may be on the cusp of a dramatic transformation. In a dramatic turn of events within the federal government, Elon Musk, serving as President Donald Trump's cost-cutting chief, has issued an unprecedented ultimatum to federal employees. In an announcement made via his social media platform, Musk has demanded that all federal workers provide a detailed account of their accomplishments over the past week within a mere 48 hours, or face the consequences of being considered resigned from their positions. This directive has sent shockwaves through various government agencies, raising questions about its legality and the implications for federal operations. On February 23, Musk took to X, the social media platform he owns, stating, consistent with President Donald Trump's instructions, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. He further warned that failure to respond would be construed as a resignation. Shortly thereafter, employees across numerous agencies, including the judiciary and federal prisons, received succinct emails instructing them to compile and submit a list of 5 accomplishments from the previous week to their managers by the end of the day on Monday. However, the response to Musk's directive has been anything but uniform. Some agencies quickly advised their employees that they were not obligated to comply with the request. The State Department, for example, reassured its staff through an email that no employee is obligated to report their activities outside of their department chain of command. This has resulted in a chaotic atmosphere among federal workers, many of whom are left unsure about how to proceed. The ramifications of Musk's directive are significant, especially in light of the broader context of federal workforce reductions that have already affected hundreds of thousands of employees since Trump's return to office. During his first month, reports indicate that many federal workers have been either terminated or offered buyouts as part of a sweeping effort to reshape the government. Labor unions have condemned Musk's ultimatum, with American Federation of Government Employees (AFG) President Everett Kelly calling it a blatant display of utter disdain for federal employees and warning of potential legal challenges against unlawful terminations. Adding to the controversy, Musk recently made headlines by speaking at the Conservative Political Action Conference (CPAC), where he brandished a chainsaw symbolically representing his mission to eliminate bureaucratic inefficiencies. He has openly declared waste is pretty much everywhere in the federal government, framing his actions as necessary reforms aimed at improving efficiency. In a further twist, numerous federal agencies, including the National Weather Service and the Department of Justice, have counseled employees against responding to Musk's email. Federal court officials issued a directive instructing judiciary staff to disregard the email, clarifying that it did not originate from the judiciary or the administrative office. The confusion has prompted agency leaders to assess the authenticity of the communications, with many advising employees to maintain caution until further clarification is provided. As federal employees grapple with the implications of this directive, the larger narrative around Trump's administration continues to unfold. The administration's aggressive posture toward federal government size and operations is being met with increasing resistance both from unions and agency leaders. While Trump and Musk assert that their measures are designed to streamline government functions, critics argue that they undermine the stability and integrity of federal services essential to the public. Looking ahead, the potential for legal challenges looms large as unions prepare to contest Musk's directive. The situation remains fluid, with the impacts on federal operations and employee morale still unfolding. As this unprecedented episode in federal governance continues to develop, it highlights the tensions between efficiency reforms and the rights of federal employees, setting the stage for a contentious and potentially litigious future. In a move that could reshape the landscape of federal employment in the United States, the Trump administration, aided by Elon Musk's controversial Department of Government Efficiency, has begun an unprecedented wave of job cuts across federal agencies. As the nation grapples with these sweeping layoffs, which some are predicting could amount to the largest job reduction in U.S. history, economists are closely analyzing the potential ramifications for the economy, particularly at the local level. Reports indicate that the termination of federal workers has already reached tens of thousands, with estimates suggesting the total could approach or even exceed 300,000. This would far surpass previous historical benchmarks, such as IBM's 1993 layoffs of about 60,000 employees, which was once regarded as the largest corporate layoff in U.S. history. The current cuts primarily target probationary employees, those who have been in their positions for less than 2 years and thus lack full civil service protections. As of May 2024, approximately 220,000 federal employees fit this description. The administration's strategy has involved not only firings but also incentivizing buyouts. Reports indicate that more than 75,000 federal workers have accepted buyout offers, allowing them to resign while receiving pay through September. According to Callie Cox, chief market strategist at Ritholtz Wealth Management, this could collectively make the current cuts the largest job cut in American history by a mile. However, the ultimate number of job losses may be less than anticipated due to various factors, including potential overlaps between those laid off and buyout recipients. Current data from investment bank Piper Sandler suggests that over 26,000 federal workers have been let go, excluding buyouts, a figure that parallels the job losses during the collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008. Thomas Ryan, an economist at Capital Economics, estimates that between 100,000 and 200,000 federal staffers may have already lost their jobs. The fallout from these cuts is expected to reverberate through local economies, particularly in areas with high concentrations of federal employment such as Washington, D.C. Economists predict a meaningful rise in unemployment in the capital, potentially pushing it into a mild recession. The effects will likely not only impact those directly laid off but also businesses in the community that rely on consumer spending from federal employees. Erica Groshin, a senior economics advisor at Cornell University, noted the broader implications. There are economic impacts to laid-off workers, their families, to the businesses they would have bought goods and services from. The psychological effects of mass layoffs could also lead to reduced spending among remaining federal workers who may hesitate to make significant purchases out of fear for their job security. Despite the alarming local impacts, many economists believe that the broader U.S. economy will not suffer significantly from these job cuts. Tedeschi, who served as chief economist at the White House Council of Economic Advisers, stated that while the layoffs could shave roughly 1/10 of a percentage point from annual GDP, they are not recessionary on their own. Ryan echoed this sentiment, noting that with the U.S. economy adding approximately 1.5 million jobs in 2024, many displaced federal workers are likely to find new employment quickly. The Trump administration has framed these layoffs as a necessary measure to eliminate wasteful spending and enhance government efficiency. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly emphasized that the cuts target non-mission critical probationary employees, asserting it is part of a broader commitment to fiscal responsibility aimed at restoring a broken economy. As the situation unfolds, the full effects of these historic job cuts remain uncertain. While local economies may face immediate challenges, the overall health of the national economy appears resilient for now. However, with the potential for additional economic pressures from the administration's other policies, such as tariffs and immigration measures, analysts warn that the cumulative impact could pose serious challenges ahead. As the dust settles, the long-term consequences of this unprecedented federal workforce reduction will likely become clearer, underscoring the intertwined nature of employment, local economies, and national fiscal health. In a politically charged move that has sent ripples through the U.S. military establishment, President Donald Trump has nominated retired Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Kane, known by his call sign Razin, as the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This announcement, made on February 22, 2025, coincided with Trump's unexpected dismissal of General Charles Q. E. Brown Jr., who had served in this pivotal role for approximately 16 months. This decision marks a significant shift in military leadership during a time when the administration is emphasizing a return to a more aggressive defense posture, particularly in light of ongoing international tensions. Kane's selection appears to be part of a broader strategy by Trump and newly appointed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to reshape military leadership in a way that aligns with their vision of a more lethal and less politically encumbered armed forces. Trump's recent firings of Brown and other military leaders have raised concerns about the potential politicization of the military, as they were known to support initiatives promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within the ranks. Observers note that Kane's background and experience may provide a fresh perspective, yet questions remain regarding his qualifications and the implications of his appointment. Having retired just months ago, Kane's credentials include extensive military service and leadership roles, including oversight of sensitive classified information programs. However, his lack of experience as a combatant commander or service chief raises eyebrows, as these are traditionally seen as prerequisites for the role. While there is a provision for the president to waive these requirements, it underscores the non-traditional nature of Kane's nomination. Chris Miller, a former acting defense secretary under Trump, expressed optimism about Kane's potential, stating he definitely knows how the Pentagon works, and highlighting the value of his diverse experiences in both military and civilian sectors. The roots of Trump's relationship with Kane trace back to a 2018 visit to Iraq, where Kane reportedly impressed the then president with his straightforward assessments of military strategies against ISIS. Trump has recounted this interaction multiple times. emphasizing Kane's direct approach and willingness to engage in candid discussions about military tactics. In a recent speech, Trump highlighted Kane's military acumen, contrasting him with current military leadership whom he criticized for perceived failures in Afghanistan and other areas. While Trump paints Kane as a loyalist, those close to the retired general insist he maintains a strictly apolitical stance. An unnamed military officer who has served alongside Kane refuted claims of partisan alignment, stating General Kane doesn't have a MAGA hat. He's never put one on. This distinction is crucial as the administration faces scrutiny for its attempts to align military leadership with political loyalties rather than operational expertise. The political ramifications of these personnel changes extend beyond the Pentagon, with Senator Jack Reed, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, condemning the firings as unjustified and a potential threat to the integrity of military operations. Reed suggested that the administration's push for loyalty over legality could undermine the Defense Department's commitment to the rule of law. Moreover, the administration's handling of military strategy, particularly regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, has come under fire. Hegseth defended the recent dismissals, asserting that the changes were necessary for executing a coherent national security strategy. Critics, however, argue that such actions reflect a disturbing trend of politicizing military affairs, which could have lasting implications for U.S. foreign policy and military effectiveness. As the Senate prepares to deliberate on Kane's nomination, the broader implications of these leadership changes remain to be seen. Will Kane's appointment herald a new era of military strategy aligned with Trump's vision? Or will it exacerbate divisions within the armed forces and the civilian leadership? The coming months will be pivotal in determining how these shifts affect U.S. military readiness and its role on the global stage, particularly as international challenges continue to evolve. In a significant shift in diplomatic dynamics, U.S. President Donald Trump has re-engaged with Russian President Vladimir Putin to initiate peace talks aimed at resolving the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This move, while praised by some political figures, has sparked considerable debate regarding its implications for Ukraine and the broader international community. Labor Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has voiced her support for Trump's approach, stating that there can be no negotiated peace without Russia, and highlighting that Trump's efforts have successfully brought the Russians to the table. Phillipson's comments come in the wake of Trump facing backlash for excluding Ukraine from recent peace discussions held in Saudi Arabia with Russian officials. Trump's assertion that Ukraine has no cards in the negotiations has raised alarms among Ukrainian officials and their allies. As Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer prepares for his upcoming meeting with Trump in Washington, he is expected to advocate for a peace process that places Ukraine squarely at the center of negotiations. The urgency of these discussions is underscored by the recent escalation in hostilities, including the largest single drone attack by Russian forces on Ukraine, marking the eve of the conflict's third anniversary. In light of these tensions, Starmer has assured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of the UK's unwavering support, emphasizing the need for Ukraine's voice to be integral to any peace agreement. Trump's recent rhetoric has caused concern among European leaders, particularly as he has labeled Zelensky a dictator without elections, questioning the legitimacy of Ukraine's governance during wartime. This characterization has raised eyebrows as it diverges sharply from the consensus among Western allies, who view Zelensky as a democratically elected leader responding to an unprovoked aggression from Russia. Former Foreign Secretary Lord William Hague articulated fears that Trump's approach could embolden adversaries like China, suggesting that any perceived concession to Russia could signal a weakness that might destabilize global alliances. As Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron prepare to meet with Trump, they face the challenge of navigating a complex landscape where traditional diplomatic strategies may no longer suffice. Macron has indicated a willingness to confront Trump directly about his stance on Putin, stressing that appearing weak could undermine U.S. interests. Meanwhile, Starmer is expected to propose increased UK defense spending as a demonstration of commitment to European security amidst calls for NATO allies to take on a greater share of the defense burden. The geopolitical ramifications of Trump's outreach to Putin extend beyond Ukraine as these discussions occur in the context of rising tensions with China. In a parallel development, Trump has signed an America First investment policy aimed at restricting Chinese investments in critical U.S. sectors, prompting a sharp response from Beijing, which labeled the measures as discriminatory and a significant barrier to economic cooperation. As the diplomatic landscape continues to evolve, the outcomes of the upcoming meetings in Washington will be pivotal. The interplay between U.S.-Russia relations and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine poses profound questions for international diplomacy, with the potential to reshape alliances and influence global security dynamics for years to come. Moving forward, the responses from both Ukraine and the broader international community will be critical in determining whether a sustainable peace can be achieved or if the specter of further conflict looms on the horizon.